Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into some excerpts from a source called Modi's India: Stability, Security, and National Unity. It offers a really specific take on India under Prime Minister Modi. Basically, arguments for why his government is, as the text puts it, standing tall amid the noise. So our mission today is to unpack the key claims, help you understand its particular viewpoint on things.
Exactly. And it's important to say up front, this deep dive is about understanding what the source argues and how it makes its points.
Well,
Especially with politically charged topics like this, looking at different viewpoints is crucial for building a fuller picture. We're just here to report impartially on what the source says, not to endorse its views.
Okay, right. So let's dive in. First up, the source tackles border protection. It reframes what critics often call forced deportation. Instead, it argues India is just, well, protecting its borders from illegal immigration that has overwhelmed local resources. The source is quite blunt, asserting no more.
hmm It's definitely more than just reframing. It's kind of a classic rhetorical strategy, isn't it?
Hmm.
Seeking to legitimize these, contentious policies by shifting the focus away from human rights concerns towards national security. It really pushes a security-first mindset onto the listener, basically.
And building on that assertive stance on borders, the text then pivots. It addresses external accusations like those from Canada about interference. It argues India won't bow to extremism, and it specifically brings up past Khalistani extremism, claiming it killed Indians. The message seems pretty strong. No terror group gets a free pass anymore, anywhere.
Yeah, that highlights what many see as a shift, perhaps, in India's foreign policy under Modi, a more assertive posture against perceived threats, even if that means causing some international friction. It frames this proactive approach to security, positioning India as, well, unafraid to challenge things it sees as provocations.
Right. And speaking of security, this source contrasts what it calls opposition talk with Modi's actions. It points to things like Kashmir ops, actions often criticized on civil liberties grounds, and stronger border defense as evidence. The assertion is pretty clear. India's safety parliament drama, it really frames action versus, well, just talk.
It certainly does frame it that way, but, an informed listener might wonder, where does this text draw the line between what it dismisses as parliament drama and what others would call legitimate democratic debate? It's presenting a very specific hierarchy of values here, isn't it? Prioritizing tangible security results over perhaps the democratic process itself.
Then the source gets into the dictatorship accusation, which comes up regarding Modi's long time in power, now 11 years. It counters this by talking about stability. It highlights achievements like a digital revolution, global respect, a stable economy, and also one India, one law, referencing the Article 370 changes in Jammu and Kashmir. And it kind of poses the question, what's wrong with strong leadership if it delivers results?
That's a clever way to counter the label, isn't it? It's basically a utilitarian argument. If strong leadership produces demonstrable results, economic growth, global standing,
Yeah.
then maybe the label doesn't matter as much. It shifts the whole discussion away from democratic process towards, well, outcome-based governance. That's a powerful narrative for many.
It definitely is a forceful reframing. But how does it, or how might it, deal with criticisms about, say, democratic backsliding, especially on issues like national unity?
Well, this text seems to push back there, too. It argues national policy must align with national interest. It talks about creating a United States of India, not divided states. This comes up when discussing center-state debates like Karnataka claiming funds were blocked. So it clearly advocates for the national interest, as defined by the center perhaps, guiding policy over specific state issues, aiming for cohesion. Though you could argue that this United States of India framing potentially downplays federalism, state autonomy.
Interesting point. Okay, and finally, language policy. This viewpoint presents the Hindi plus English plus local language approach as inclusion, not imposition. It says the goal is to raise global Indians who don't forget their roots.
Right. It frames this kind of multilingual strategy as a strength, fostering local identity and global competitiveness. It directly counters the imposition idea by calling it a comprehensive approach. Empowering, not restrictive, is the message.
So the source wraps up by acknowledging, okay, Modi isn't perfect, but it argues he's building an India that is secure, respected, and future ready. It's a very powerful summary of its particular viewpoint.
Absolutely. That conclusion really crystallizes the source's core message, a vision of a strong, forward-looking India, prioritizing security and unity above all else, it seems. It's a very clear final argument. Even with that small admission of imperfection, it leaves you with this sense of decisive, beneficial leadership.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe consider how understanding such a strong, specific perspective helps shape your own view of complex national stories. It's just one piece, obviously, of a much larger, more complicated puzzle.
Indeed. And the real value here, I think, is in dissecting the arguments themselves. How are they constructed? What evidence or lack thereof is used? Regardless of whether you agree or disagree, it just helps you navigate the information landscape a bit better. Maybe reflect on that balance: national security, internal stability, individual liberties, and how different narratives prioritize them differently across the globe.